The time has come to make a big announcement. Pre-market prep STN is going 24/7. Brent, Dennis, and I and Josh are each going to be doing 6-hour shifts because you can't miss moves in the market like we had last night at midnight. Crazy, unless you had your orders out there. I know Bill in the STN room caught it. Folks, we are moving all over the place. I wanted to call this spooky markets. Dennis wants the taco trade. We got Trump and Xi going out for breakfast. We have Jerome taking December off the table. We have Google blowing it away. We have Meta in the tank. Microsoft getting hit. ETFs are going crazy. But you know what? We're going to figure it out on pre-market prep. Let's get it going, Brent.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. And this is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
We're unchanged here, down a handle, no big deal. Throughout the high, throughout the low. Big battle between the Bulls and the Bears today. The buck is flat, 99.07, trying to clear that resistance at 99. TLT flat, just under 91. USO, give it back those gains from last week, down 26 cents, 71.54. GLD, trying to put a bottom in here, up 286, 365.86. SLV flat, 43.26. And Bitcoin, kind of in a trading range, failed at the 50-day. We're trading down $320, 110,310. Let's bring on Triple D, and I think we're gonna this show today. I think we're gonna have some different opinions here because market's numb, Dennis. I don't know. The taco trade, is it wearing off finally, or do you think it's just getting going?
No, I think that's wearing off a little bit. Let's bring the Brentster into this conversation here as well. Brentster popping in. I popped you in here. I mean, we knew they were meeting. We knew Trump and Xi were meeting last night. You knew it was going to be an amazing meeting. Like we talked about this. Like it wasn't going to be like when he meets somebody in person, almost always it's like he likes them again. Well, it's like, so here's the Trump playbook. He's talking. He talks real tough art of the deal. You know, like, I hate China. You know, all these, you know, this is tough. And then he goes and meets with them. And then it's always like, great person. And it's all happy and friends again. That's how he works. That is the art of the deal. And they get the deal. So we predicted this last night. We're like, probably got to be long stocks because there's going to be a deal. I thought it would be long China stocks. That one didn't work out. But other stocks definitely did work out. So buy the dippers rewarded again. The deal, but the gains didn't hold. Here is the deal, and show it up there, Brent.
Yeah.
But first, let's Brent, give us the 3-4 point summary from and then we'll talk trading action. So I know there's a couple. Yeah.
I'm going to put them on screen as we're going through them. So a 1-year deal with China on rare earth supplies.
Yeah.
Trump will cut fentanyl-linked tariffs on Beijing by half. Overall duties on Chinese goods are down to 47%.
Yeah.
China's Commerce Ministry said the U.S. will postpone measures that blacklisted majority-owned subsidiaries of Chinese companies on the U.S. entity list. And the last bullet here, this is a nice little highlight summary from CNBC, by the way. Trump will go to China in April, followed by Xi coming back to the U.S. probably at the end of spring/early summer.
They're buddies.
There's your 4 highlights.
They're buddies now. Buds. Best buds. He's called it a 12 out of 10 was the Trump truth last night. The meeting was a 12 out of 10. Amazing meeting. Got the deal that they were looking for, all the stuff that we thought. So, as was probably an obvious trade, the markets were going to rally on this. And let's show the markets from last night here too, because we did. We had a huge rally on this last night in the S&P, Joel. If you go to that overnight action there, you can see the pop. We got above yesterday's high. So we were up 30 handles.
I can't believe
it. That Microsoft and Meta are getting hammered.
That's mathematically impossible. That's mathematically impossible.
It's not, though. We're going to teach you that math here for a second. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you already know the math is possible. But, man, that was a huge pop. The crappy thing, though, is the gains did not hold. That's the issue. So we obviously sold off significantly here overnight, dropped 50 handles after the meeting concluded. Maybe they were hoping for more amazing things coming out of it. And then we kind of rallied back. So we were all over the place last night. So if you're coming in here this morning, you're kind of feeling like, we're down a little bit on Meta Microsoft, but there's a lot of stuff that happened here overnight. So let's go to Meta and Microsoft.
Well, what about your buddy Jerome pulling the rug?
It's over for Jerome. We don't even worry about Jerome here now. He was driving the bus for 2 hours, and then Mega Cap Tech took over.
What about the D's rate cut?
Yeah, well, sure. So December rate cut is anything but certain, was Jerome's words. So market didn't like that. Market sold off a little bit on it. Well, not markets so much. S&Ps hold up and they're resilient. IWM sold off on that. Interest rate sensitive names sold off on that. They bounced back, though, by the end of the day, barely down. I mean, the party continues. XBI was down. Now it's back up because we got a deal in the sector. But, I mean, the party still continues here, regardless of what Jerome says. So I don't know if we're going to get a December rate cut, but I'm telling you in 2026, we're getting lower rates because Jerome, when's he out? When is he out? Do we know? Date me? Anyone?
Date, I think it's summer. I don't have a date, but I believe it's summer. Chat's going to know for sure. Chat knows this kind of stuff.
Super dovish, and rates are going to go down no matter what. Because Trump's going to appoint them, and even if we get inflation, they're not going to care about it. They're just going to cite jobs, and they're going to cite whatever. They're going to bring interest rates down. So 2026 lower rates. That's my official prediction. So a lot of this is just noise at this point in time from Mr. Powell. His last stand. You can show it did move up a little bit. The possibility of not having a December cut. It is now at 29%, Brenster. Mm-hmm. That's the possibility of not cutting. 29%. Yes. And do we know where that was yesterday? Because it did move up a bit.
Yeah, this was like under 10%. It was like a 95% chance that there was going to be a rate cut in December. Yes.
Yeah.
The thing that I want to add onto this discussion real quick, and please. Of course I'm going to have this angle because I'm a news guy, but I really think there's a lot of value in the questions that reporters are asking. As far as I know, the Fed is picking these people for a reason. And the first two questions, for whatever reason, coincidence maybe, were two reporters asking about December being a foregone conclusion. Yeah. Literally use that phrase, foregone conclusion. In my opinion, the Fed wanted to show resistance to that. So if you ask me, this whole thing was a bit of positioning.
Yeah.
That they just maybe don't want to be forced into a decision. And I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
So. I think that's been the positioning the whole time. Is I think the Fed probably wanted to lower rates maybe even sooner, but they didn't want to be acting like Trump's telling us to do it, so we have to do it. We want to show our independence here. So we're going to wait until we really have the data, and we're going to delay this even a little bit longer. If Trump hadn't been saying, too slow, Jerome or whatever he was saying.
Yeah, when's he going to come out with a rant on Jerome today? Get that guy out of there. I mean, when's that coming? What time's that coming?
It doesn't matter. I mean, here's the deal. At a certain point in time, we're becoming numb to Trump talk a little bit. I mean, this is a little bit of an issue for the market here because we get an amazing deal with China for the umpteenth time. I mean, like 7, 8, 9, 10 times we've had the deal. I mean, the market is just ignoring it now. So, I mean, that is a little bit of an issue for Trump because this has been the Trump put. This has been, every time the market goes down, Trump says something to bring it back up. If the market, it's a big F, starts becoming a little more numb to what Trump is saying, that Trump put is not as effective as it was. So that's one reason to be somewhat cautious. But there's so many reasons to be bullish. So do I. When you get a day that Meta is down 70 points. And you get a day that Microsoft's already bought the dip, but at one point in time was down 30. It's only down 11. Now Google is picking up the slack. It's helping a bit.
Yes.
But you would think like maybe just one day the bears have, a little bit of a feast. Oh no. We go down 25 handles last night and they buy the dip once again. The S&P's barely down. I mean, we are leaking now, but when we started the show even 10 minutes ago, we weren't down this far. So the S&Ps are trying to be resilient. The S&P's trying to hold up here, trying to shrug off a Meta disappointment here. Brentster, if you have the Meta and Microsoft reports, we can cover them both at the same time, and then we'll cover Google afterwards. But we're going to give the bear thesis here first. Meta trading down 70 points, way below the expected move. Expected move was 50. So you're hitting a few people that were playing inside that expected move.
All right, Meta with a nice quarterly report, 725 versus 668 estimate, sales beating by a couple $1 billion, 51.2 billion versus around 49.3 billion. Guidance for Q4 was like in line, nothing to write home about, in my opinion. Sees Q4 sales 56 to 59 billion, analysts around 57.5 billion. I'll let Joel take a look at the chart while I pull up Microsoft, if that's okay.
Let's do these one at a time here.
Okay, go.
And Dennis, before I do the technicals, Dennis, give me your take on the report.
On the Meta report?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't even read it. I just had the
Okay.
highlights. So
You know what we didn't mention? It took a $16 billion charge. AI related.
Okay.
Was it Meta the first one?
The market, so I'll stop you for a second. The market only trades on headlines, and I only read the headlines now because the market doesn't dive into the details usually on anything. It trades on the headlines.
Well, so
the highlight. I don't think any of the news algos that trade Meta read any of it. I don't think any of them are like deciphering through it and reading the 10,000 words in 10,000 milliseconds. I don't think any of it gets read by the majority of market participants. I'm saying it. I think there's a lot of fundamental traders that really dig into these reports, and sometimes they, you do your homework and you can sometimes find some stuff. But I would say 99.9% of the people, 99, maybe it's too high, but 99% of the people who trade Meta probably didn't read the report, any of it, just read the highlights. That's me. I'm one of the 99%. So yeah.
What were you gonna say, Joel? I wanna hear now.
Yeah, he's gonna say about this charge. So he was digging. So Joel was one of the 1% that actually read the report. Give us the details from the actual reading of the report.
Okay. The tech giant posted earnings that missed estimates, citing a one-time charge related to President Trump's signature One Big Beautiful Bill.
So
all this AI spend, wasn't Meta the first one? Like, well, we're just dealing up. We're gonna do this, $1 billion here, $3 billion here. Yeah, AI, we're way ahead of things. And then, now they're taking a charge because of the big beautiful bill. To me, the reason this stock is sitting on the lows of the session and there are no bids in sight is because they way overspent on this AI. Now they're also taking the charge for the big, beautiful bill. And if this is symptomatic of all these other big tech companies that rolled out all this money for the AI spend, this could be a problem, a big problem for the market. So that's all I'm saying. There's no bids in here. That's what I'm saying.
I like the angle, Joel, for sure. Thanks to the 1% for keeping us honest here.
Yeah. And I mean, Gene was talking similar to you, Joel. I don't know if you saw Gene Munster, but he was talking about this last night, and saying about the AI spend, about their expenses versus the revenues. And he did a ratio comparison because Gene's one of the 1% that actually digs down and listens to the conference and reads the reports as well. He was comparing the ratio and saying that the revenues for the first time are not growing faster than the expenses. So that's a good point, and that's why the stock is down, and that could be very well be.
And
so
I'm just saying,
at this
they
point
were
in
the
time,
first ones to
that is not bouncing.
spend.
It's not bouncing.
There's not bouncing. There's no bouncing here.
That's not bouncing. The S&Ps are leaking here too. What did you do to the S&P at 755? We were flat. Now we're down 20. Joel, I blame this on you because you got all bearish, and now the market's listening to you, and now they're scared. I also said the Trump put might not be working as effectively.
Yeah, I think I think it's two things. I think we should be up 100 handles. We just made a deal with China. Everything's fine with China.
But we had that deal 10 times. So that's why I was saying the market is just numb to it. I thought we'd be up too on the deal, and we were last night, but the market didn't hold the gains because, hell, we got a deal every other week with China. And is this a great deal? 47% now? I don't know if that changes much. I don't know if that moves the needles.
All right, we're just
Are
standing
you
on
buying the dip on Meta? Bring it back to Meta.
I'm not okay. Buying the dip in Meta. I'm going to give you a monthly level. There was a monthly low at 690.51. That's Kaplooey, so that's going to be resistance. That was a prior month low. The next monthly low is coming in at 644.26. So today, that's another 50 handles. I don't know what the expected move was. It's already, but just remember, once things get out of the expected move, and I was wrong about this yesterday with the Caterpillar. I thought it might come into that expected move. No can do. That thing opened up at the low of the session. So option guys are scrambling. I don't know what the expected move here was, but sit it out. See if you can get this thing at 650. The company just came out and gave you bad news. If you feel you need to run out and buy calls today, be my guest. I would let the dust settle here.
It usually is the better play. Third day in a row I'm mentioning Brian Shannon. Let's get Brian Shannon on the show. I'm going to reach out to him because I'm mentioning him a lot. Buy the strength after the dip. I love that. It's what he says. He's right. Don't buy the dip. Buy the strength after the dip. Because the things sometimes keep dipping for a bit. So wait for a pause. Wait for some consolidation. Don't try to be a hero and say, oh, this is going to be the bounce level. Sometimes it works. Sometimes catching the falling knife, especially in bull markets, works well. But a lot of times you just get cut up a bit, so things can keep dipping. Like who's catching let's go away from this for a second. Catching the dip, catching the falling knife in Chipotle, the taco trade. You guys thought we were talking taco trade because of Trump. We're talking taco trade because of Chipotle. The lack of a taco trade. Nobody's eating tacos anymore. This is a no taco trade. Chipotle's getting absolutely hammered.
They're not very good. Let's go to Microsoft. And then
I want to go to Chipotle now.
Okay.
We'll go back to Microsoft. Microsoft.
You always get what you want. Okay, go ahead.
I do. Because it's just the way the conversation goes. We'll kind of come back to Microsoft, but we're trying to talk, on catching falling knives. So I want to teach a lesson here. So you could be trying to catch the falling knife and saying, oh, it's definitely going to bounce at the September low of 38.30. If you did that last night, you got cut up really, really bad. If you try to catch the falling knife and say 37, where we get near the expected move, that's cut up again. 36, 35, 34, 33. Do I have 32? You do. This is catching the falling knife, the pain you can get from catching falling knives. Let it fall. Let it go down. Maybe you think Chipotle is the best company in the world. But one thing about restaurants is they hold PEs when the growth is high. They can be trading 70, 80, 100 times earnings and go up when they have super high growth rates. As soon as that growth rate starts to slow, get the hell out because those PEs inevitably contract. You can look at, all the PEs of all the legacy restaurants there, and they usually lie in the teens. That's where they eventually go to. Chipotle is on its way to the teens in their PE ratio. So valuation doesn't matter when the story is hot. This story is ice cold, baby. Ice cold. So if you're looking and saying, wow, it's so cheap, it's still trading 35 times earnings. Now, again, that was yesterday. So now you got to knock off 20% off the price. So it's probably trading 30 times earnings still. This thing could get cut in half again and still be expensive relative to a lot of other restaurant stocks. So when they don't have growth, and they don't, that's what they're telling you, is the sales growth is not only decline, it's not good. I mean, we got the numbers here. Sales missed 29 cents versus 29 cents. Outlook talking about expecting 315 to 345 with trying to find the growth. I don't have it, but the numbers weren't good. Growth rate guidance wasn't great. So you can't have declining growth with PE multiples of 40, 50, 60, 70. Now, it's not that high anymore. It's come down. But remember, Lululemon came from 70 to 15, 16, 17 times. I think Chipotle can get to the mid-20s on a PE ratio, which might even bring us down to the mid-20s on the stock. So catching the falling knife, saying it's got to go back to where it was 70, 80, it doesn't have to do anything. This is a restaurant stock that's better days. The growth days are behind it. Now you're in cash cow stage. What do you want to pay for cash cows? Chipotle's not going away. They're still making, there's still people eating tacos, but the growth rate isn't there anymore. Restaurant business, very competitive. That's my rant. You can go back to Microsoft. You can talk Chipotle.
No.
I'm not catching this falling knife.
You rant.
I don't need all the
rant. You
cuts on
just
my
can't
hands.
rant and then go on to a new rant. I can rant. Listen, we're an equal rant opportunity show. Okay.
Okay.
I'll give my rant on. I went to Chipotle like several years ago, and I had the burrito, paid like $12, $13. I'm like, this is horrible. And then about, I don't know, 6-8 months ago, I'm driving by. I'm like, I'm going to, people really love this. I'm going to give it one more time. So I went again, paid $16 or something, and it was horrible. And it just, I don't
People
like
actually like the food, though.
I don't like the food. But
I think it's fine.
You know what the biggest problem and the only way that this company can turn itself around is, like, you look at their commercial, what they're cooking up that thing. Doesn't that look horrible? Like this looks kind of, what's it, Brent? I don't know if whatever the special thing is, and they're showing it looks greasy. It looks like there's a lot of fat in it. I mean, who would have a?
I like fat grease, to be honest with you.
Really?
I like
Sounds awesome to me.
grease.
Okay, $30.
The problem is Joel's an athlete. The best swimmer, senior, potentially in the USA. He's an athlete. So he sees this stuff and sees this is not going to help me be competitive. I am not an athlete. I'm your average Canadian, North American, citizen that loves eating grease, go to McDonald's, love a Big Mac. I like Chipotle too. The food is fine. It's not about the food. It's about what you're paying for the food. And we're not talking about the price of the food. We're talking about the price of the stock. You can't be paying 70, 80, 100 times earnings when the growth rate starts to slow. That is the problem. This is not a Chipotle problem. This is an inevitable problem that happens to all restaurants. Eventually, the growth slows. And when it does, it's time to get out. The growth rate has slowed for Chipotle. It is now having the inevitable correction that all restaurant stocks go through when they have the huge ramp up. I mean, look at Cava. Cava started early, but look at Cava. Everybody paying 100 times, 150 times. We have 200 times earnings. Yes, we do. $172 the stock hit a year ago is $56. Because you can't pay 170 times earnings for a restaurant. You can if it's Palantir. You can if it's Tesla. You can if it's AI. But you can't for a restaurant. That's all there is to it. P's actually matter in restaurants. Next.
I just want to say this is when Daddy Krasnick was on the show. That's his last name, right? Krasnick, that was on Tuesday. Remember when he was on and he talked about going into the earnings in this one?
Yeah.
And then it tanked.
Yeah, he was right. He said solid at 80.
Yep. I'm going to give you a great level to cover short someday in CMG, 29.40. It's a double bottom on the monthly. So there's where my bid is. 29.40. There's a double bottom on the monthly at 29.41, 29.40. That would be a buy point today. I don't think it's going to get down $10, but who knows? Might be some big,
we just watched this cascade down.
Yeah.
But again, just the point. So now you go back to Microsoft, but the point just being catching falling knives, dangerous, dangerous, dangerous business. Great brand. Chipotle still got a great brand, but the brand's growth is slowing. So other places to be. So Microsoft, which growth is not slowing, if anything, accelerating here. Hell of a story. They own a big chunk of OpenAI, which is going to go public next year. I mean, there's some catalysts here. Dip comes out. Stock goes down. Brent Store, I can't think you gave the numbers. Did you give the numbers for Mike?
No, he never did. We went on too many rants.
You can give them again.
Okay, the quarter was good. The guidance was a little less exciting than the meta, if you'd call the meta guidance exciting. Q1 adjusted earnings 413 versus a 370 estimate. Sales beating 77.6 versus 75 billion estimate. They are expecting Q2 sales in the range of 79.5 to 80.5 billion. Analysts are a little under 80 billion, so kind of on a little bit more of the conservative side for the Microsoft Q2 sales guidance.
Dip got bought here twice.
It did.
So we went down to 515.
Yep.
And then we rallied all the way back up to 540. bought it all the way back up to scratch almost. And then the conference call happened, and we went all the way back down to 515 again. And know what? Then they started buying it back up. So Microsoft, there is dip buyers everywhere in 510 to 515 land. Microsoft is, a company that, again, Meta's too. Like Meta probably gets bought here eventually. But Microsoft is right in the mix of a lot of things right now, especially with OpenAI. Like we keep forgetting, OpenAI came from Microsoft. They birthed it. So you look here, and OpenAI is going to have a huge year next year. It's having a huge time right now. Hard not to be a dip buyer in Microsoft. So I would be more of a dip buyer in Microsoft than I would in Meta just because of the OpenAI exposure.
I think Dennis gave you a fantastic level. Not only is the after hours and the pre-market chart dictating that, but you also have the 50-day. So as long as it's above the 50-day here, 513.15, you got just below that in the pre-market. I mean, it had the ridiculous double gap up, right? Gap up, okay, gap up again, and now boom, it's coming in to fill all those gaps. So keep an eye on it. $15 off the low. It's looking a heck of a lot better than Meta. Meta just sitting here at 680.61.
Then do Goog. We haven't done Goog yet.
Oh, let's do something good. Yeah, Goog.
Go to Goog. And you know what? It's all good anyways. The market barely goes down. But Google fly in here because they can't have all three going down because that would be bad for the S&P. So they got to buy one of them. So Google was first to report, actually. So they started lifting that one up. Give us the details of Mr. Brentster on the Google. You're on mute right now, but he's off mute. Good.
Google reporting 287 versus a 233 estimate. That's a solid beat. Sales also beating very solidly, over 100 billion, 102 billion versus the 99 billion estimate. They didn't give guidance in their press release. They may have gave some in the call, but I don't have it in front of me. If they did, if anyone in the chat saw that they had guidance, let us know. Thank you.
Stocks that go from 260 to 275 to 297 usually will get over 300 at least for a brief moment in time. So the prediction of the day is that this kisses over 300, and it's not a bold prediction whatsoever. A little bit of a joke, but I mean, it's strong. It's been grinding its way higher. It obviously wants 300.
Did it get there? I'm looking at the
I don't think it did.
299.82.
299.82.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of size at the point.
Yep. Size at the point here. Nothing you can say bad about the Google here. Trading up $22. I'm not sure what they expected. Maybe this one is within the expected move, or I think so, for a $300 stock. Should have checked that beforehand. But how much, and should have done my own research. I know I'm throwing you under the, like, how much of Google's revenues? I mean, we know they have the surge from YouTube.
I can look that up. The big like thing that people were focusing on last night was Google Cloud. That was kind of like, in my opinion, the headline.
So many other businesses.
Man, we are
half their money comes from search. We've researched this. It's 55% classic search, and that's why I haven't been a fan of Google, because I'm like, their core cache engine is under attack.
17.
But there's so many other things cooking, and I probably didn't give enough value to all those other things cooking here. I sold my Google back at like one. I had it in my portfolio for years, like a decade. It was in my long-term portfolio. And I sold it back at, I don't know, like 165 or 170 because when ChatGPT was coming out, I was very concerned that this was going to attack Google search and disrupt Google search. It is. But there's so many other things going for them that the other stuff's picking up the slack. And we know you can just go through, like you said, YouTube is still awesome for Google. That might be one of the best investments ever by a company. I think they paid $1 billion for that. Unbelievable. It might even been under $1 billion. Obviously, they got Waymo, they got cloud, they got a million other things on the go. And other things are cooking up. The AI company, they've got innovation all over the place there too. So, I didn't give enough credit to that, even though the core search engine is under attack. And the S&Ps keep leaking here. Wow.
I know. I tell you right now, Jared Jenkins, he bought this back in 22 for $90. He's still holding. Nice. Okay. This is not investment advice by any stretch of the imagination, But if I was an institutional fund manager and I had 1 million shares of Google, I'd be selling some today.
Joel, you're always selling. You're lucky Lisa runs your portfolio because you are a seller, because you're a trader like me. This is the problem. We have this trading blood in us. When people come from the floor or the prop floors, their natural becomes short sellers, because it's more fun. So you're just in you. Scalpers,
Not fun when market
makers,
goes up all the
whole
time.
shebang. You're a market maker, off-exchange market maker with oldie. It's in your blood to sell. So you're always selling. You got to sometimes take a pen, squeeze the blood, squeeze the scalper blood out of you just a little bit. Just a little bit, because you got that short-term mind frame here. Long-term wins. It does. Long-term wins. And if you can be like Warren Buffett, or like any long-term investing is a good way to go. Jared, great buy. Hold on long-term to companies. Good companies, reasonable valuations. Long-term wins.
Jared,
short-term can win too, though, as a trader.
Do you trade options, Jared? Because maybe like what premium could you get for like a 310, 15, 320 call today, right? So I don't know.
It's getting ugly here, folks. We are starting to get ugly.
I know.
They're worried about the Trump putt. Frank's going to save us, though. We got to get Frank on here if he's ready to go, because we got Frank Holmes coming in here, and I'm sure Frank is going to save us. If the crypto market can't save us, nothing can. Let's go.
How's that for an intro, Frank?
Huh? Outstanding. I think you have to say, go gold, baby. Go
gold, baby.
Let's talk
gold.
Even Nickel Eco bounced right back into the IBD 50, which means it's got relative strength. But these gold stocks are going to have record earnings, and sentiment definitely due for a great correction, which we've had. So I think that we're going to see this sort of bottom here, and the gold stocks, as in the next 6 weeks will roll out, they'll be announcing every other day phenomenal results. About 80 gold producers around the world will be all-time highs.
What's your target, Frank? What is your target for gold by the end of Trump's presidential term, which we don't know exactly what that's going to end? What's your target?
7,000.
Double.
7,000?
7,000. But you know what? I'm really conservative. I was reading today, Porter Stansberry has an analyst calling $27,238 or something, but 27 grand. So I feel like I'm really ultra conservative now, but I think 7,000. And the reason for that, Joel, is when you look at the total global economy and you compare it to total global debt, the global economy is basically, the debt levels are 3 times now what the GDP is. So we're talking about $340 trillion going to $350 trillion. So that money printing is showing up as gold rising in all currencies.
So what stocks you like, Frank?
Here.
Go ahead, Dennis.
I was going to say, just going on gold here. We've had this recent pullback here, and gold kind of became a risk-on asset for a little bit. Maybe that's the problem. Obviously, gold through its history has really had no correlation with the stock market whatsoever. But I think there's been a lot of people, maybe a lot of retail, maybe that have been interested in getting gold, because it's been the momentum trade all of a sudden. So that momentum's come out of it here in the last few weeks here, but gold's fundamentals still stay intact. I mean, you got this hard metal that still, when you have a printing press like we do in the US, and this can bring us into the crypto conversation eventually too, investors are looking not at cash, but for hard assets. I mean, you look at Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, had a terrible year. Well, they're 30% cash. If he would have been 30% gold instead of 30% cash, Berkshire Hathaway would probably be doing a hell of a lot better. So we've had this recent 10% correction in gold here. You'd be a buyer?
Yes. And Dennis, Franco-Nevada went public in 2008, and it's outperformed Berkshire Hathaway almost 2-to-1 since it went public. And Franco-Nevada does over $30 million in revenue per employee. It has the royalties on Barrick and Newmont's gold operations in Nevada. and their revenue per employee is like 600,000, and they're over 30 million. So when I look at Franco, I look at Wheaton, I think these are great plays, and meeting up with a Fidelity multi-billion-dollar generalist fund manager. He doesn't go buy the junior stocks. He says he buys Franco-Nevada as his gold play because they have the royalties on all the good juniors. So that's been his proxy in a diversified portfolio, is to own Franco-Nevada. So I think that stocks like this you buy, and Wheaton Precious, once again, high margins, high revenue per employee. NVIDIA goes to 5 trillion. 5 trillion. NVIDIA's revenue per employee is 3.5 million. So we're talking about Wheaton and Franco are almost 10 times the revenue per employee. And that's always been what they call the efficiency ratio, that it's a great way to play the gold space.
Let's move to crypto, because put the other hat on. We'll
Right.
take the gold hat off. This guy does everything. That's why I love Frank. He does everything. But obviously, if we've got the printing press going, probably good for gold, but always good for Bitcoin too, because only 121 million of these things out here. So we've had a recent pullback in Bitcoin as well. Is this just an opportunity to buy more Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think it's, as the adoption continues across America and then starts to permeate in other countries around the world, Bitcoin will go to $250,000. Some really sage investors in this space are looking for 200 by the end of the year. And right now I feel more comfortable at 150, but still 150, 200, Hive will make a ton of money. Hive is banging out almost 10 Bitcoin a day. We have over 50% gross margins. And then you add on the HPC. We're building out, we'll have a big vision in Paraguay. We have growth in Canada. We're building out in Sweden. So that revenue is a different model. And so this year has been the big year for Hive to scale its Bitcoin operations from 6 to over 25, next year 35 exahash. Now it's going to be the HPC. We only went from 10 to 20 million, and in the next 12 months, our ambitions, when we look at it, is 100 million to 180 million in run rate revenue growth, with about 70% margin. So we're very excited. And we look at these other companies that have gone through this big, now they're AI, they're not Bitcoin miners, and they've gone to these very lofty valuations. But hand over fist, guess what? We're doing more revenue, making more earnings from our AI business than some of these other players.
Frank, just for new listeners here, Hive went public in 2017, being one of the first to pivot into AI and high performance computing. Frank, I want to go to your hash rate of 267% year to date. Where does that compare with other Bitcoin miners?
Well, we are unequivocally the biggest this year in scaling, and a lot of that's been fortunate to go into Paraguay, where the president of the country is so pro-America. He was the only Latin American president on the peace treaty signed with Israel and Gaza, representing Latin America. And so we have a surplus of hydroelectricity in the country. And I think that when you look down the road, and their vision is to turn it into the HPC, high performance computing data center complex in Latin America. And Hive is part of that whole program. So first you go build what's called a tier 1 data center. You have to build a substation, you have to put some basic infrastructure, and you get your capital back, Bitcoin mining. Then you turn around and upgrade that data center from tier 1 to tier 3, which we're doing in Canada and Sweden, and that's much faster. And if you take a look at Core, we've taken out Core Scientific. Why? Because they're going to upgrade from tier 1 to tier 3, and it's a big saving for Core Weave to take them out. Well, what did they do that? They were trading like at 5 times EBITDA and it's taken out at 14 times EBITDA. So when you look at companies like Hive, they have a deep value proposition with this huge embedded growth. So we're excited to be part of the whole AI boom.
Frank, you're talking about these upgrades to these data centers and integrating AI. I mean, there's income and then there's expenses on the balance sheet. Is this, where is it costing you guys a lot more money as relative to your income to do this?
That's a great question, Joel. And I'll give you the basics from Cambridge University. Came out with a study 5 months ago. Bitcoin mining is going to cost about $1 million for the building and the ASIC machines to go in to mine Bitcoin per megawatt. So for every megawatt of electricity, you got to spend $1 million. You get 100 megawatts, it's $100 million spent. When you go to HPC, it's 33 times greater. 33. So if you have 100 megawatts, you're talking about $3.3 billion spend to be in that space, in that game. So we have done it slowly and methodically in downtown Stockholm and downtown Montreal, cranking up that with 2 key employees. We've got it up to 10 million in revenue per employee in our AI strategy, but we're going to scale that up to, we'll have about 6,000 of these beautiful NVIDIA chips, the Blackwells. They call them clusters, and they'll be this time next year producing income in particular in Canada. Now we're scouting out in America, where would we have that same plan?
Frank, we're getting some news today from Meta on their earnings that, maybe they got a little bit ahead of their AI spend, right? And also Trump's beautiful bill is taking a $16 billion charge. And, I can make this question specific to Hive, but, also like to these other major tech companies. Is the AI spend getting ahead of itself?
Is it getting ahead of itself? No, I don't think so, because as fast as you put in these beautiful NVIDIA chips into these centers, open chat consumes 70%. Like, we look in Texas, in Abilene, Texas, which was originally solar, wind, and flare gas, is the biggest spend. It's called Stargate, $500 billion spend. And open chat is basically 70% of all that demand. If you go look at CoreWeave, more than 50% of that demand is Microsoft associated with open chat. So we do have this growth, and we have Perplexity, we have Claude. They're all doing funding at higher levels because the demand is pent up. I was learning last week that the mid-tier are going to less expensive chips, because these chips are now pushing $40,000 a chip, not $4,000. And some of the other, like A40 chips that are a lot less expensive to rent, they're getting a lot of traction from mid-sized businesses. So I don't see this ending. I think that so many people now are using open chat to seek information, to be able to, arbitrage information, such as you get the far left opinion, you get the far right opinion, and how do you sift through that noise? Well, a lot of open chat people are using that, in addition to all the kids using it for writing essays. And so I think that we're going to continue to see this adoption grow globally.
Let's move away from, let's move over back into crypto just for a second here, and altcoins. I want to get your thoughts, because, you've got so many of these different crypto coins here. And obviously there's Bitcoin and Ethereum, which, have, wide, Wall Street's kind of, embracing them now. But you have a million other of these altcoins. What are your thoughts? It's like we've had Louis Sykes on here, who follows these altcoins, and he thinks the altcoins could actually start picking it up. They've kind of lagged to a certain extent here. Do you think there's a place for, well, obviously not all of them, but some of these other altcoins? And what do you like?
So I do think so. I think coins like Tao, TAO,
okay,
it has a utility, and the utility is for AI machine learning. So it's like,
is that the key? Is that the key if you're looking at these coins, to actually have utility, as opposed to Dogecoin or something that is just made of a joke and goes up? Is that the key, to look for utility?
Yeah, it has a utility that's a tie. There's about 3 of them that are tied to AI business. So it's capped at 21 million coins. It has a lot of engineers or a part of the ecosystem that are coding involved. So that was really important for Ethereum, which was launched in 2015, a few years after Bitcoin, that smart contract. But they had a lot of young coders all over the world that were behind the ecosystem. And that's what's really key. If you're going to go into these altcoins, you want to try to find out how big is the ecosystem. Do they have a foundation that's well funded? Do they have companies like Hive, or you see some of the other like Marathon? They sponsor coders. They go out and are helping enhance and support that ecosystem of that token. So one is utility, and two, how many brainies do they have coding and supporting the storytelling for that utility is very important before you go into that coin. We found using AI after Ethereum left, we started mining all these altcoins, but we're so big. I mean, we had 130,000 of these AMD chips, and we would just squash a market. So we said, no, we're too big at that space. But if you're a nimble player, yes, there are some of these altcoins that you can be profitable, but not for Hive. But I do look at coins like Tau, I think are unique coins because they're tied to the AI utility.
Frank, we get a lot of questions about stablecoin, right? Could you, for people that advanced or intermediate or novices, best way to explain stablecoin?
It's one of those, the flywheel all of a sudden from Bitcoin starts creating the altcoins, and Ethereum really triggered the explosion in altcoins, that smart contract concept. But they're all based on the blockchain and that mechanism, and then there's other ways of validating. What happened with stable coins, I think, was a derivative of what XRP was working on. But the most important one is Tether. And Tether is a beast. I mean, it's unbelievable. When you leave America, everyone wants US dollars except for the Chinese. The Chinese are doing everything with the BRICS. They've weaponized the BRICS to not trade in dollars. And that's also sort of helped with gold. They don't want them to own dollars as foreign reserves as they used to. They want to own gold. So you have this sort of geopolitical event taking place. But along comes a stable coin. So what is a stable coin? It really is a blockchain money market fund account. It's very stable, and the asset behind it are government securities. But if they turn around and pay a dividend, like money market funds pay you in America, it was then deemed a security. And so what they did is they said, you know what, we're going to provide a stable coin for everyone in the world that wants US dollars. It's going to be called Tether, and it's grown to 600 million users around the world. It's not in America, but the concept shows you that Argentines and Brazilians and Venezuelans and Colombians, they all want to have US dollar stable coin. So it's really a money market fund on the blockchain with no coupon. The collateral be underneath it is US dollars. And today, Tether owns more US dollars than Germany does. And every week they're on the auction. The other really fascinating thing about Tether is that they're one of the biggest buyers of bullion. And they have a stable coin for bullion, and they bought their own safety deposit box in a mountain in Switzerland. So the Tether guys have been now coming into America, and they've been consulting with the US government about having not just $100 bills around the world, but also for a lot of people to have a stable coin. Because if they have a stable coin and it's outside of the banking system, then they're protected. Because what's happened in Argentina in 2002, they confiscated billions of dollars of US dollars from everyone's bank account. It happened in Africa, same thing. So people want to have US dollars. They want it outside of the banking system, and Tether became that. Tether is really the most profound stable coin in the world. We will see the US come out with a form of a stable coin for people around the world.
Great explanation from Frank Bulldog Holmes, CEO and CIO US Funds, chairman of Hive Digital Tech, Dad, Texas philanthropist, innovator, author, and speaker, joining us here on Pre-Market Prep. Thank you so much, Frank. And any final words? Final word.
Joel, I'm also blessed. I'm really blessed. I'm 70 years old and I have a 10-year daughter, 10 years old. And,
Wow.
I'm coaching their basketball team. And
Awesome.
I have to start practice the dribble, the crossover between the legs because I get stuck. The ball gets stuck. So I can't fall over and look foolish. So stay young, keep working out.
You look great for I did not know he's 70 years old. That's impressive too.
Frank, I have a very important question, and the chat's going to hate this, okay? So you're coaching young girls in basketball. How do you figure out the load management for these players?
How do some basic drills? Get the ball, come to the ball. I have competition for it, and just real basics. Stutter step, how to move the ball from one hip to the other, and then move. Just basic stuff, and then they just love to go play. They want to have fun.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, Frank, thank you very much. And we'll be dialing you up again real soon. Frank Holmes,
All right, cheers.
Digital Tech.
Thanks, Frank. Great stuff. You learn so much, right there. You know, he knows so much about everything, not just crypto. Like, I mean, the guy, you could just get on here and have him speak for an hour because he just knows about everything. So.
And a word from our sponsor, Hive Digital Technologies, industry-leading expertise in building, maintaining, and operating efficient digital infrastructure, geographically diversified operations situated in politically stable jurisdictions like Canada, Sweden, and Paraguay. There is a little QR code in the bottom right corner. You can scan that on your phone, or you can click the description of this YouTube video to learn more about Hive. But we just learned a ton about Hive. What more do you want to learn about Hive?
Right, fantastic. We want to keep learning more.
He has a lot of takes on a lot of different stuff, and I will get into that with him next time. So market under a little bit of
I'm getting hammered. So I haven't had a bad day in a long time, but I kind of had the impression that we would rally on Trump Xi meeting. I think a lot of people were thinking.
Well,
that.
you were correct.
I was correct, but I slept. So I need to stop sleeping, and I need to wake up at midnight and sell all my stocks. I did not do that. And I wake up and I'm like, we're slightly red, but we're probably just bounce back. I did not see this one. I don't know what's been happening here in the last hour, but this has been a horrible hour for me. One of my worst hours of the year, undoubtedly, because I'm long stocks. I'm usually market neutral, and we have just, rolled over on everything, not just rolling over because of Microsoft and Meta. And people will say, it's because of Microsoft and Meta. But we rallied, to your point, Joel, 50, 60 handles from the low after Microsoft and Meta. So this is selling off, on other things, trying to figure this sell-off out. But this one's a little bit of a head scratcher. Maybe it's everybody speculating that Trump-Xi meeting was going to go and we're going to get a deal, and we did. And maybe it's just profit taking. Maybe it's nervousness, but we've turned into an everything sell-off here today. We were like, when you logged in at 7:30 and we were talking, I bet you 75% of stocks were higher. There was so many stocks that were green. And that's why you're like, why is the S&P green? You're asking me. I'm like, because everything except Meta and Microsoft is green. That is no longer the case. We have rolled over on a lot of things here, a lot of value names. Warren Buffett's always having a bad day, so we don't have to look at that. But the IWM was up significantly this morning. There's your heat map. We've turned... That was mostly green an hour and a half ago. It is mostly red here now. So we can, and we can say lots of different reasons, and we can find, the Fed speak yesterday. But why all of a sudden in the last hour did everybody just wake up to Meta, Microsoft missing, and the Fed speak, all of a sudden being the issue? Why all of a sudden? Because we just dropped 40 straight handles in the last hour.
I just put it up there. I mean, the rate cut. I mean, also, you got some big. We still got more earnings, right? After the close today, right? You got Amazon, you got Apple, you got Coinbase. I mean, there's a lot of big companies reporting, and then you got the oils on Friday. I wanted to name the show "Spooky Markets." That's what I wanted. I wonder if it was a day early, and then you said taco trade, so we went with that. But it is. It's a spooky market here, and we're still off yesterday's low. I mean, when we came in and we were flat, I kind of thought we'd at least stay flat until the open. But keep an eye on yesterday's low in your stocks, as as well as the indexes. It looks like we're maybe visiting that this morning. We don't bounce there, then Katie, bar the door.
I think this is a moment for a little perspective, and just a little perspective back on October 17th, S&P 500 futures were below the 6,600 level. So yes, I see the sell-off here, but keep in mind that we had just rallied very sharply over the last.
This is nothing.
Oh, in the big scheme of things, it's nothing, but I'm a trader. So 35, 40-point handles when you're long are not fun. So, I mean, it's all perspective. Sure, if you're a long-term investor, who gives a crap about a 0.6% sell-off? Who gives a crap? But I'm a trader. I make a trading for a living. You're making calls. So, yeah. So am I going to blow up my account and lose all my money here? No. But if when you're long and you lose 40 straight handles and you're trading, it sucks. So it does happen. I mean, again, this is my best month of the year. So don't worry, folks. I'm going to be okay. But it still sucks. So I'm the only one that admits. I know everybody else got it right, because nobody can admit that they lose money. I'm going to lose money today because this market, just because of this recent sell-off. So it happens. It happens. So big scheme of things, sure, this is nothing. But I'm just wondering, why all of a sudden we pretty much, Joel, bring up the SPY chart here. We have pretty much collapsed since midnight. We are down significantly since the Trump-Xi meeting. So if we look, and I know I get all confused with the 3-chart layout here, but I mean, we sold off, and then we rallied kind of all the way back, all in the last hour. A lot of this pain is from the last hour. So we can speculate, oh, it's the Fed, oh, it's Microsoft, oh, it's Meta. All that was out there. We are straight down 40 handles in 1 hour here. That looks like somebody said something. So I'm digging and looking in the background here and trying to figure it out, because all the reasons our chat is giving us are reasons that we knew about 10 hours ago. What happened in the last 30 minutes? Is it just, technical here and we just decide to spill it all? I don't know. That could be. But it looks like when you get a violent red candle straight down 40 handles in an hour, it usually is somebody said something. So I'm just trying to dig. That's all.
CC talked about this volatility compression that was going to happen on Friday, because we had all these major events happening. We had huge earnings, 5 of the 7 Mag 7 stocks reporting. We had the China Trump meeting. We had the Fed making a decision. I haven't seen any comments, Dennis, to justify this move lower this morning. I think this is a little bit of a sell the news moment. I think people that had bought the dip are looking for an excuse to take some profits. I think that's what's happening here. That's just my take, though.
How about, and this is really kind of throwing a dart here, but end of the month, corporate year end for many companies is October. Maybe money managers is like, oh man, I want to get paid. I'm locking some stuff in here. We got a lot of potential uncertainty, and just an incredible rally too. So don't know how much that's gonna.
It could be all technical. Maybe that's what this is. It could be all technical.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we are heading up for the lows. Well, let's wrap it up today, folks. It's been a full show. We got the earnings in. We had some time with Frank, and that's it. Tomorrow. Can I call the show Spooky Markets for tomorrow? Or we just rally and get all this back?
All right. So I was telling you, I can tell when there's a freaking headline or somebody said something. Bessent said the U.S. shutdown. He just was on 1 hour ago somewhere. And so the U.S. shutdown is starting to eat into the American economy. That was said 1 hour ago. We've been selling off for a straight hour. So I think that commentary is headline. I live on headlines. You can tell when something is headline driven here. So we can keep speculating that was everything else. It looks like it was Bessent's comments. He was on, I don't know where he was speaking an hour ago, but I'm just digging here now. He spoke an hour ago. He was saying this a little while ago too. He was saying this a couple days ago, but he was just on TV saying it again. So the U.S. shutdown. is what Besson was saying. He said his words, the U.S. shutdown is starting to eat into the American economy. That's a market moving comment. That's what I was looking for. So that's your comment. That is the catalyst here, I would imagine, from the last 40 points straight sell-off. We just saw 40 points straight in an hour.
Yep.
Blame Microsoft, blame Meta. We knew about that 10 hours ago.
We knew about that months ago. We knew when the
people.
government shut down, when we had remember when I was
It's
on
been a
with
while
Jamie.
though. And remember Goldman coming and giving their projections and it'd be 0.1% GDP for every 1 month or whatever or something like that, or they had a number with it. It was actually higher than that. But Besson coming out and saying it, because Besson is rah America. So he's rah everything is good. So he's saying that, that's spooking people. So I think that's spooking people. That's why it would make sense that everything starts selling off too, because we very much had a tech sell off this morning. And when IWM was up, we were bouncing a little bit here, and now we're starting to sell off. So I think Besson commentary here nailed everything.
Okay, looking for a catalyst, and looks like you found it, folks. Thanks for joining us here on Pre-Market Prep. Back with you tomorrow morning.